That's what we're looking for when we're doing these restoration jobs. We want to make it seem like we were never here and that there was never a drywall patch. So this was actually a pretty bad one. It was a water leak that happened on the second floor of the house. And then so all of that water actually rained down to the first floor. We have a couple rooms and areas that are fully gutted, as well as all the flooring has a lot of flood cuts around the perimeter. So we'll have to repair the bottom 2 feet around all the rooms where it was damaged as well. This job started back on Thursday where we ordered the materials and got all the drywall and the corner beads and the mud delivered on site. On Friday we came through and we did all of the masking, covering up all the floor, walls, windows that are not getting worked on. And then today we are working on the beginning of the sheetrock installation. So as we go through, the first thing we got to do is get all the insulation vapor barrier up on all the exterior walls and walls that are exposed to the outside. Then secondly, we're going to start hanging all the sheetrock. After the sheetrock's hung, we seam tape and mud all of the joint. After it's all nice and smooth, we will texture it as needed. We'll receive a coat of primer and then paint it with 2 to 3 coats of finish paint. So we're going to go on in, check it out, and see what they're doing. So this is the area where it's basically a full gut. This was kind of the heart of where the loss happened. So these areas are fully gutted. Then swinging on to this end, it's a bunch of flood cuts, which are basically 2 to 4 foot cuts. Water floods into these basement areas, and it touches just the bottom little bit of the drywall. What happens is it actually starts to wick up the walls. So what the restoration contractors have to do is cut out all that damaged and unsalvageable drywall, which usually is anywhere from 2 to 4 feet up, and they go around and cut out the perimeter. Then after it's dried out, we'll come in and replace it back to its finished state. And they do that because you don't have to replace the entire wall. You only have to replace the bottom part that is damaged. We can always replace the drywall, mud, retexture and feather and blend it to match the existing wall surface. So that's about it for now for this walkthrough, and we'll be popping in here a few more times throughout this project. Alright, so we're back here at the fire restoration job. All the drywall is hung, we got all the mud, tape, and sanding done. And now we're on the final steps of the drywall, doing the texture, getting it ready for priming and painting. So the last time we saw this place, it was fully gutted all the way down to the framing. Now that we can see we got all the drywall up, we got all the seams mud and taped and sanded, and then we got the knockdown texture on. Getting it ready for priming. Yeah, so when we're coming through, we're checking to make sure that all the walls are nice and smooth, as well as the mud in the finish is nice, smooth, and even coated. Also, we want to make sure that all the inside and the outside corner beads are straight, nice, straight and flush, and it also transitions nice and smooth so that you can't tell that there's corner bead installed there. So here's where we had the bottom portion of the wall taken out, where we replaced it with new drywall. We're coming to make sure that the drywall is in and that the seam is all nice and flush. And as we texture it, you can tell that we have our nice knockdown texture, and as it comes up, it kind of feathers and fades away and transitions nicely to the original texture. And that's what we're looking for when we're doing these restoration jobs. We want to make it seem like we were never here and that there was never a drywall patch. Today is Thursday, and we're just finishing up all the texture, getting all the drywall wrapped up and cleaned up. Friday, tomorrow, we'll go ahead and get the primer coat on, and then Monday will be followed up by the 2 coats of the finish paint. So we'll let these guys finish up here, and then we'll come check on them here in a few days when they're priming and painting.
Kenny's on a lot of bids today. It's the springtime and everyone's calling in to get some work done. So I'm gonna walk you through. I don't know a lot about the project, but I do know enough. So let's do the final walkthrough and see how it turned out. So this whole room was a rehang, tape, texture, paint. One of the difficult parts that I talked to Vitaly about, which was how thick the knockdown texture is, and then you'll see on other portions of the walls where we didn't do the whole wall, we have to match that knockdown texture to the existing texture, and that's where it can be really difficult. This room wasn't super hard because we redid the entire room, but downstairs where we did a lot of flood cuts, the matching of the texture took a lot of physique. So this is a really kind of cool room, as we've hired on a new guy named Casey. We just said, Casey says he can do drywall. He seems credible, he seems knowledgeable. We're like, okay, let's see what you got. We threw him in this room. We said, hey, you do this entire room. You tape it, you texture it, you prime it, you paint it. And he did. And it looks great. So a semi-full restoration project. It wasn't a full restoration project. Flood cuts, only in the basement. Not every wall touched, but about 70% of the walls. No trim, no doors. Fantastic job though. It was a hang, tape, and paint and texture. Really thick knockdown texture. Everything looks good. Carpet's installed. I think they have flooring installers coming today or tomorrow to finish the rest of the living room. And then the new homeowners who have bought the place move in on Monday. So we hit our timeline. Project is done. Customers are happy. Going to meet up to drop off cookies. I'm very pleased and happy with how the project went.